It doesn't really feel like it at the minute in the UK, but summer is very nearly here. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a summery bossa nova inspired beat from scratch. I'll go over the chord progression and some of the music theory. I'll break down all of the layers and interesting VSTs that I used to make the drums. I'll also break down how I got a super realistic trumpet sound just using VSTs. Plus, if you stick around to hear about this video's sponsor, I'll be giving everyone who watches some free sample pack credits, plus a side of free knowledge. So I'll be talking about the sponsorship a bit later. But for now, I'll go in and break down the track. I'm using a classical guitar for this. I've got the Admira Concerto guitar. It's fairly cheap compared to most guitars these days. You can use any classical guitar that you've got. It works really well. Or if you can't play guitar, there's some great samples available on Splice for bossa nova. So you can definitely work in samples and use the rest of the techniques I'm going to talk about. So the chord progression that I use is essentially 4 chords that I embellish and mix up throughout the track. So you've got this one, which is a D major 9. Over to a B minor 7, over to an A6 sus 2, and then finally to an F sharp 7 suspended chord. So I'm recording at 70 BPM for this, using a small diaphragm condenser, pointing around the 12th fret to get like a nice balanced tone, and for solo and stuff it's in A major. So the way I'm sort of embellishing this is, for example, on the D major 9, lifting the pinky up and down on the G string, to the B minor 7. Again, the pinky on the G string can be a great little embellishment. Over to the A6 suspended chord, which is essentially if you're playing the same sort of fingering as you'd play a D major 9 chord. Just take off the A string and play that open. Take off your pinky, and that's the chord. And you can embellish it the same as you would a major 9 chord. And then finally over to the last chord, which is an F sharp 7 suspended. And I'm using the high E for the embellishments. And for this one I was soloing in A major. So from there, time to layer it out a bit to give more of a full, bright, summery sound with some interesting VSTs. So in context with the rest of the finished track, this is what the guitar sounds like. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and break everything down step by step. So start off with the atmosphere. We had a few different layers on this one just to give it the nice summery vibe that you typically get on these sort of bossa beats. So we've got this FFSCI ambience, which is the seagulls that plays in the quieter parts of the track. If you search for that on Splice, you'll get the same one. We've also got a very soft, we've got this tropical birds atmosphere, which is from my Dreamy Lo-Fi Volume 1 sample pack. I layer that with a bit of vinyl just to fill out the sort of warm background noise. So onto the instrument bus. So on the actual bus itself, there's a few things I'm using. One is some filtering that just sweeps it in as we get the intro. So you get the low end that filters in just to bring in that softer intro. Bit of looks again from Cleverground Audio, just a great sort of one knob compressor on the finesse mode, which gives it a little bit more of an airy brightness. East-West spaces using the LA Guitar Venue reverb. It's similar to the one I mentioned last week. It's convolution reverb based on actual spaces with the responses from these different spaces available. This one's from East-West. A little bit more accessible than the Altiverb 8 because it's cheaper, I think. And it's also, you can pay monthly and try out the East-West stuff. And there's some great stuff in there for more like composers and strings and that sort of thing. So without it, with it, just glues it all together a little bit. I've also got an overdrive on there. So the overdrive, I'm using it quite a small percentage, 5%, with these settings. And you can just move this frequency spectrum and pick a band that you want to just accentuate a little bit. And it just brightens it all up. I've been doing this quite a lot on tracks recently, especially on drums. I'll show you how I did it on drums as well in a minute. If you can tell the difference, but it's very much present at just 5%. It brings it out a little bit more. So this is the guitar that I recorded. East-West spaces again, using the same guitar reverb. It's on the full bus, but it's a little bit heavier on the guitar as well. A little bit of channel EQ just to bring out the highs and reduce the rest a little bit. And the channel EQ gives it a nice sort of warmth as well. It's got the analog emulations, plus a bit of soothe, just taming the low end. Then layering with the guitar just to give it a little bit more warmth in the low end. I've got an Imagiro and a Lecco. Just again, just copying the same chords and layering with it just to fill it out a bit. And then on the master bus for this, I've got a track spacer, which is cutting away from the nylon guitar just to make sure it doesn't clash. It's cutting out the same frequencies that would be sort of overlapping, so they sit together nicer. A bit of radiator from Sound Toys for a little bit of warmth, a little bit of brightness as well with the treble boost. So quite a simple one on the instruments here really, but the drums sort of what I guess finishes this one off. Next up, some nice ambient vocals. The way I do this typically is I'll take the chord that's playing and I'll split it up into 3 different tracks and then pan them different ways, left, right, central. Just gives it a nice wide feel. And we're using the Oliver Patrice Spitfire Audio Breathy Ooh for one of them. We're using the Aria Vocalscapes for another. And then I think I'm using Aria Vocalscapes again with a different patch. So this one's got a different patch. With this plugin, you can pick all sorts of different vocal phrasings. If you're interested in some vocal plugins, I did a video about it a little while back, and I break down some of the favorite ones I'm using at the minute, so that's well worth checking out. So that layers with everything. Again, another one I mentioned was the Bloom Vocal Ether. It's very similar to Output Arcade, but just purely vocals. That's just a nice little ambient one that comes in. I could probably use that a bit more to be fair. I'll dupe it over here again. And that one's got a bit of a filter to the top end. Some portal giving it a choppy granular synth feel with a default chop, and particle reverb, which is sort of like a reverb delay in one. And then finally, this. But before that, as I mentioned earlier, I've got a special giveaway courtesy of this video's sponsor, who is Skillshare. So with summer around the corner, it's always great to leverage the extra time that some of us might have to put towards learning a new skill or developing an existing one. So for me, I'm looking to find gaps in my music theory knowledge and improve them as best I can. So Skillshare is the perfect way to do that. If you've not heard of Skillshare before, it is the largest online community for creatives to learn and develop their skills, with thousands of classes from industry-leading experts in music, also film, graphic design, arts, and all sorts of productivity and workflow related topics as well. So it's such a great tool providing clear, concise courses to develop your skills in certain areas. So of course there's videos on music theory, but also if you're feeling a little bit of a creative block, there's some great video lessons that can help you overcome that, some ideas and tricks that can unleash some of your creative energies. And I found some really useful insights in the Music Fundamentals Jacob Collier tutorial, which I've gone back to a couple of times over the last year or so. So if you're interested in checking out Skillshare, as I mentioned earlier, number one, there is some free knowledge in the form of a 1-month trial to Skillshare. You don't have to pay anything. You can try it out for a month, see if there's any video lessons that you like, get as much as you can from it. If you enjoy it, you can keep on going, and if you don't, you can cancel it and not pay a penny. So the first 500 people who do click the link in the description down below will get access to that first free month. And also, if you send over an email to mondoloops@gmail.com with your profile after you signed up, or if you're already a member, send it over and I'll send you $15 worth of credits to my sample pack store. That's never going to expire, and you can use towards the dark ambient pack, the organic lo-fi pack, the chill drum pack, or any of the other sample packs available. So what you're waiting for, click the link in the description down below to check that out. And for now, I'm going to go on and break down the rest of the video. This is the trumpet line, which I talked about. So just to go over the sort of master bus first. That's it dry. That's it with the effects. So I've got a Lux on there, a bit of warmth from a saturation, warm tube, chroma tape, dark hall reverb, convolution reverb, limiter, and spaced out. So this is more or less what I've used on some of my guitar chains in the past. So we've got a section for warmth and saturation, and then stacking a few reverbs on top of each other to just sort of give it a nice ambient feel. So the way I got this trumpet sound was using the Swam trumpet. I actually layered that with a UVI trumpet. Well, this one's a flugelhorn with a straight mute, and this one is the Swam trumpet with a little crash there. Thanks, Ableton. Yeah, trumpets. I've got straight mutes on both of them, but one's flugelhorn, one's just a standard trumpet. And I've mentioned it before, but I play it using one of these, the Touche controller. You can use a roller keyboard, or any sort of MPE expression pedal, anything like that, that gives you the option to play the keyboard whilst also controlling the dynamics of the trumpet. So what it essentially does is you can control how soft or loud the playing is. You can control like growl and flutter on the SWAM, and on the UVI, I'm just literally controlling the CC, which again is just how loud or quiet it is. So you get a more natural fluctuation. And it sounds great. Like, obviously it's not replacing a real trumpet player just yet, but if you can't have access to that, this works pretty well. So add in the kick and the bass. Bass is just a Trillion upright bass. Trillion main, just the main upright. Bass sounds really nice, got a nice sort of warm, plucked upright bass tone. A little bit of buzz and stuff in there. And then onto the drums, which is what really finishes off this track. So I use quite a lot of filtering on the drums. Got the intro where it filters up. You see it here bringing in some of the highs. Slowly get louder. And we play a little ride with some delay. And then in come the drums and the bass. So on the drum bus, I've got the Crammer tape, which is giving it a nice little bit of tape warmth. Again, Lux, I'm using it on a lot at the minute on the standard Lux preset. A bit of compression, convolution reverb, which shoots up for the intro, which is why it's so ambient. And then it tightens up once the rest of the drums kick in. Again, overdrive. Really bringing out some of that high end. And another EW Spaces, again, LA guitar. Venue, trying to keep everything with the same reverb just to keep it all a little bit tight and in unison. So for the drums, there's loads of layering. I've just found loops on loops for the most part. I did use this Ting VST, which is by Cleverground Audio. There's all sorts of like found sound plucks with a sort of natural hallway reverb on there as well. So these TC_BN, this is stuff you can search for on Splice if you want to get the same sample. So this is a little triangle loop. Little hi-hat. These shells and perks are from the Ian Ewing, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but you probably heard of him if you're in the lo-fi chill hop scene. He's a fantastic drummer, and that's from one of his sample packs. And then, yeah, literally just layering all these different loops on top of each other. You can search for these names to find the same ones. We've also got a Addictive Drums, which is playing various sections. This one's just a little cymbal. We've got this, which was the little ride with a delay. So we've got the Echo Boy and spaced that on there, and that just helps fade into the drum section. We've got a little plucky brush thing from Xander. Some brushes from one of my sample packs. And then just some final perks and textures. Little recorded stuff as well, like this. Just a little, I think it was the chopstick, that recording. And just layering up various things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. This is like an actual bossa nova groove that I got off Splice again, giving it that bossa timing. And then this is just the main snare, which is a rim shot and a snare from Addictive Drums. And you glue that all together, this is what you get. And then as well in there, we've got some filtering that comes in just to give it a little bit more variance to the drums. Midsection cuts the top end and then again slowly brings it up. And I could probably get this reverb coming up as well. And laid together, like the trumpet sounds pretty good. There's a lot going on with the drums. There's a lot of panning and stuff. A lot of samples of stereo. Some things didn't work. Some things I took out. But yeah, overall, pretty happy with the result. So yeah, I hope you liked the track breakdown. If there's anything that I didn't cover, or or you want to know more about, do drop a comment in the comments down below and I'll break that down in future or reply to a comment with an answer if I can. So yeah, hope it was useful. Be sure to check out the Skillshare segment if you want to get a free sample pack credit and some free Skillshare knowledge. Otherwise, thanks for watching and I will catch you next time.